I'm Dr. Amy Robbins, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between podcast. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and medium, and here we explore life, death, consciousness, and what it all means. Today, I have another special ghost story. If you have a ghost story you want to share, ghost stories are my way of sharing my listeners' experiences, amazing experiences with their own signs, synchronicities, and connections to the other side. Today I have a very special ghost story. Every ghost story is special, but this ghost story is from my aunt. I will read her whole thing, even though I wanted to cut part of it out, but she'd probably not be happy with me if I did. So I feel like I'm not having editorial control over this one, and I want to, I contemplated cutting this part out because I'm just not always super comfortable sharing things about myself. And so this is a little bit uncomfortable for me, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is what she wrote and I want to be true to her story. I will preface this ghost story with the fact that Dr. Amy Robbins is my niece. Amy was and continues to be a very special person. As a child, she exhibited knowledge and foresight way beyond her years. Amy has amazing listening skills and compassion towards everyone. While we would be packing up food to bring home after family gatherings, Amy would be gathering everything possible to deliver to the homeless. I could go on forever with all the kindness Amy exhibits. But knowing Amy, she is embarrassed, which I am. So I must profess that I am extremely proud of her and honored to be her aunt. Aunt Bonnie, I hope you realize that I read these before, that I read them as I'm recording them. So you knew I was going to have to see this and you knew I was going to be embarrassed. Okay, so on to the ghost story. I had another niece, Jorie, who unfortunately was diagnosed at the age of 10 with osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer usually found in children. Her prognosis was not positive and she was given only 2 years to live. During those 2 years, her parents tried everything possible to prolong her life, but to no avail. Sadly, Jorie died almost 2 years to the day after a long, hard-fought battle with many ups and downs. As Jorie was taking her final breaths, her dad asked her to give him a sign so they would know when she was in communication with them. Both of her parents are spiritual and hoped they would connect on some level. With her final breath, Jorie formed a heart with her 2 hands. Now they had the sign that would come to signify Jorie. After many months desperate to connect, Jorie's parents prayed for a sign, which included the collection of heart-shaped rocks, hoping to connect with their sweet beloved Jorie. Her father received a few hints, such as lights flickering and radios going on and off. However, Nina, her mom, was heartbroken at her inability to connect with Jorie. She called me and said she was frustrated and losing faith in her efforts to see signs. I hung up feeling helpless and knowing there was nothing I could do to ease their pain. Approximately a year after the passing of Jorie, my father died. This was also my grandfather, my papa. He seemed ready to pass, and the family had enough time to mourn the fact that he was never going home again. Having been in a long-term facility for a year, he died peacefully in his sleep. After my father's funeral, I was out walking my dog. I had been listening to music and enjoying the beautiful day. I really wasn't thinking much about anything specific and proceeded to walk up to my front door. Upon entering, I noticed a heart-shaped pattern within the brick right as I entered, which was odd because I had entered countless times and never noticed it, and it was as clear as day. While focusing on the heart, I heard a voice in my right ear saying, "Aunt Bonnie, I have your dad." That was it. Nothing more, but oh my God. Jorie was with my dad and I was extremely comforted. I will never forget that moment, and I can still hear her voice. I had been searching for a sign, but realized it appeared where I least expected it. I had always been a believer, but now I was hooked. As an aside, I've been listening to Amy's podcast since she started. After listening to a ghost story, I felt compelled to write my own. I had been putting it off because I'm not a good writer. As I sat in my car for quite a while composing the story in my mind, I finally decided to step out of the car. I opened the door and put my foot down and noticed a thick piece of silver wire formed in the shape of a heart. I picked it up and decided that was the sign I needed to sit down and write my ghost story. Thank you, Aunt Bonnie, so much for sharing this beautiful story with Jorie. And I also, when I was early on in my mediumship practice, Jorie's mom allowed me to practice on her. And Jorie came through, if I recall, quite loud and clear in this reading. And it was super emotional. I can't remember the brand, but there was a brand of jeans or a brand of something, like a brand of jeans that she loved. That was one of, I feel like in my readings, there were like generally like 2 to 3, 3 to 4, like really powerful evidential pieces. And I remember that being the one. Aunt Bonnie, thank you for sharing your story and your Jorie with us today. Thank you, everyone. And again, if you have a ghost story to share, please reach out at team@dramyrobbins.com. Thanks so much and have a great day. Like what you heard today and want to hear more? Wondering what comes next and what it all means? Head over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you get your podcasts and hit subscribe. Also, if you could take a minute to rate and review my podcast, I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned as we continue to explore life, death, and the space between.